So here's the butterfly, the MDF butterfly, with all the little bits and pieces that was not quite pushed out, now pushed out. You can use this either way, but for the project I want, I'm using it this way because I want to layer up on this side that's more plain, and with what I want to do, that just fits in well. You can, of course, use it the other way if whatever you're using works better. So I'm going to use a stencil next, and I want to build up some layers with different stuff here. So my first layer is going to be this doily effect. So I'm just going to add some texture paste. It can be anything that you particularly like to use. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to have to see how it goes with the spreader I've got. And just dab off any excess that you don't need. Make sure you've got in all the... Now this, as you can see, has some lines down here and a little bit here. So I think for this I will add them because the pieces that I'm going to add over the top probably will cover it actually, but it'll just add a little bit more of a dimension to it. I don't want that bit there. So make sure you've got all the bits you do want. Lift it up, check what you've got. There we go. Wipe off any excess you've got on your tool. Put the lid back on. And I'm going to have to disappear because I've forgotten to put a bowl for my stencil to put in water, so it'll clog and then my stencil will be ruined. So I'll be back soon. Right, I'm back. This, as you can see, is dried. You can dry it with a heat gun, but sometimes it'll bubble. But as it happened, I'd just finished doing that and I had a visitor, so it dried by itself naturally. So the next stage that I like to do is give this now a coat of gesso, because the media that I'm working on top, it'll help it to be brighter and it'll not sink into the MDF quite the same. So I'm going to try it one way, and if it doesn't work then I'll go back to the brush. So basically I'm using heavy white gesso, which I'm going to put a bit on a piece of plastic. And I'm going to get a small roller. I do use this method sometimes, but with it having the stenciling on, I'm not so sure how it'll go over that. But we'll give it a go, see what happens. I'm basically only doing a very light base at the minute, just like I say, to give it a bit of protection, because I'm going to build up some layers next, and they also, when I've built up the layers, will need a bit of the gesso. So that anything that's not covered, or I think doesn't look like it's got enough on it, I can go over with the brush. Like I say, this is only giving a very, very light coating. Might have been better with the brush. But it's one way of doing it. If it doesn't work, then you just try it the other way, don't you, with a brush instead. But as you can see, there's a fur coat in there. Now then, I'm going to set that aside to dry for the moment. I just used a piece of, if you use 12 by 12 papers and they come in a plastic bag like that, I usually use what's left of the plastic bag just literally to put gesso or inks or anything like that on. It's another way of keeping your table clean. Right, now I showed you before that I was using these. I said that I was doing. So just make sure that you've got enough light. Actually, let me bring it a bit closer. Might be able to see a bit better. I've not done a video in a while, so you'll have to forgive me if it's not that clear. Now, this time I think I might just do it with a brush and then you can see the difference. This gives a thicker coat. And just work it in as good as you can. Like I said, this just gives a base coating just to stop any medium that you use on the top sinking into the MDF or the chipboard, which is what this is. Chipboards are brilliant because they're a lot lighter. So if you're a card maker, I'm going to just pop that brush in water. If you're a card maker or you just want added layers without the weight of MDF, the chipboard is great. And this is another piece that I showed you, I think, at the beginning. Now I'm going to have this in the middle of the butterfly, so I'll just bring that back. Yeah, that's as good as touch dry now. It will be by the time I'm finishing. Now I want this to go roughly, so I'm going to cut it. Got to find some scissors. These will cut with anything. They're just literally just chipboard, so it'll cut with anything. Any scissors you've got. These are Tim Holtz ones, but they don't have to be. So I've cut that down. And then I'm going to start layering my layers up now. So I'll just put my lid back on me gesso. Just make sure that has, yeah, that has definitely dried. Right, and just clean up my spatula or else I'll not be able to use that again. And I am just having to go because my roller has got paint, gesso in as well. So I'll be back soon. Right, now for the fun part, we're building up the layers. I'm using heavy body gel for adding my bits and pieces, which as you can see is a new jar. Because my old one went, I'd used it up. You can apply this with an old paintbrush, your fingers, but I find it a bit sticky for me. So I basically am attempting to use this. Well, it's a plastic. No, it's not working very good, so I'm not going to use that. I'll use it doesn't help because this is so holy, this piece of chipboard. But as long as it sticks. Which this is really good stuff. I have also, if I've run out or you don't have, I have also used this Yoo-Hoo all-purpose twist and glue, that's quite good as well. But basically use what you have. So press that down. I'm just washing off my brush a little bit in between and taking any excess off. It is transparent, it will dry invisible, but you don't want big blobs of it. Now I don't quite like just where I've got that because it's too far near the middle, so I'm just going to move it and press it down again. Like I say, this is a bit of an awkward one because it's well, it's so holy really. There's more holes than substance, but it looks great when it's layered up. So if you just hold it for a few seconds, the ink, the 3D gel, which is a superb ink for grabbing hold, will hold it. You can always add a little bit under there where I've missed. And again, press down. So hopefully you can see now that that is fairly... We've got enough light on here. Let's see if we can give you some more light. Yeah, that's better. Right, so we've done that first layer. So now, from my stash, I've got some metal, they're actually Prima or Finnabar metal flowers. I'm not sure if they still do this particular type, but they do a very similar one if not. So again, we're going to layer those, leaving a little bit of this showing because otherwise what was the point of doing it, and it just gives a little bit more of added dimension. I'm just moving my water jug out of the way because you don't need to see that. Now then, I find I roughly build up a composition where I want stuff. So I have already done this before, which I sent off to the TV, and so probably the matching colours of these I've probably already sent off, but because we're covering it over with another layer of gesso and then the medium on the top, it really won't matter. So I'm going to put a fairly good blob of glue on that and stick that down. That looks like it's... Oh, this might be a bit of recycled. I think I might have used that before. Which, again, that's something else you can do if you get fed up or something. Or you think, oh, that's looking a bit past its best. If you can't see the thing underneath when you finish, recycle it. It's fine. So, that like that, that like that. And then this one, you could have it that way. I like it that way. I'll show you why in a bit. So, position that where you want it. Hold them down for a minute. Right, again, take your brush and just get rid of any excess. It's only because you don't want a pile of glue bit dots on your, unless that's what the look you want. Well, that's fair enough, then leave them. But personally, I didn't, or don't. Doesn't matter about little bits because they literally will get covered up. problem with this is it makes my hands sticky, and I'm not really keen on that either, but anyway, that's another story. Right, then I'm going to put that in the middle. So a fairly substantial blob under this one, because it is a heavy piece of metal. And try to have it so that when you look at it stood up, it's looking at you, not drooping down or anything, because of course we're looking at it flat at the moment. But if it goes on the wall as a decoration piece or held up any other way, it's going to be at a different angle. So now I'm going to bring in just these couple of extra chipboards that we did. And I'm going to find somewhere where I like the look of them. So again, I'm going to try placing them first. I would, normally you do 3, so there would be another going here, but I don't want to cover this bit. I seem to be in the dark again. I don't know why it's dark today. I've got lights on everywhere. But anyway, hopefully you get the gist. So I'm going to put a bit of the gel, 3D heavy gel. And again, take off the excess. Oops. You can tweak this so it sticks up a bit and gives a little bit of extra dimension. Oh. Fair enough, get rid of some of it before you even put it on, I suppose. I don't know if that works or not. It's all trial and error. Easily at this stage comes out if it doesn't work out. So there we've got this. We've now got this, and these are getting quite fixed. Now here we'll have to let it dry now a bit. We could, I suppose, put heat tool on it, but I prefer to let it just dry a bit and I make sure then that it's set, and also it means that this chipboard should be roughly where I want it to be, because like I say, I tweak it a bit to make it stick up slightly from the base. But as you can still see a little bit of that stenciling. Great, albeit not a lot, but you're just wanting to create layers. So it really doesn't matter. Anyway, I'll leave that for now. I'll be back soon. Right, they've set now. So the next step is to do some more with the gesso. So I've just got to find it, because I think I might have put it away. Oh, there it is. You know, like as if it's not that big that I can't find it, but hey ho, there we go. Right, this time I'm putting it on with the brush, because it's got to go in the little bits and bobs. Now my gesso is quite thick and quite solid. And my brush is losing its bristles, which is good fun, isn't it? Basically, you're just giving a light covering. Don't need to worry too much. Get in between if you can. Now then. I think that might need resetting. Yes, it's going to need resetting. It's not stuck. I thought it had, but it hasn't. So I'll reset that in a minute. I might as well carry on, being as it's unset itself, carrying on doing the rest of it. It gets a chance to dry out then. As you can see, that's made that a lot lighter. Now it's got that second coat of gesso put on with the brush. Right, so I'm just putting my brush in water again for it to settle. I'm going to wipe some of this gunge off there, and I think I thought I'll turn as well. Yeah, I thought this had stuck, but I don't think it has, you know. So I'm going to put some of this other glue on, which is stuck, to be honest, my original one on with, and it seems to have stuck better. I'm really not so sure that this is stuck at all. Don't worry about it. There's always ways and means. So I'll try that. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to let it dry again now. And it would have taken less time if it was I was trying to put this lid on the wrong way. There we go. Would have taken less time if the metal bits were set, but I'm going to have to leave them to set again. But in the meantime, I'm just going to get rid of any excess gesso from the where I've gone over. Just helps to get rid of any excess that you don't want. It's easier to take it away at this time than it is when it's dried. If the metal pieces had dried, the gesso wouldn't have taken that long to dry and we could have got going with the next part. But I'm going to have to wait for that to dry now, especially being as it's got the other type of glue on. Because for some reason or other it doesn't want to stick very good today. So I'll leave that a bit longer again. If yours is set, you could carry on to the next bit now, but like I said, mine hasn't, so I'll have to leave it to set again. But in the meantime, you're getting the gist of what we're doing. So I'll see you soon. Right, this is really stuck now, as you can see. It's not moving anywhere. So find out which glue works the best for you. So now, this is the fun part. This is where we decorate with the colour. So I'm using from some Lindy's Gang Flat Magicals, and mine is Hawaiian Islands. You can of course use any type of the powdery paints, whatever they're called, that you have, in whatever colours you have as well. So I'm just going to open these so I know what I'm using. And I'm going to get a feathery brush. I don't know if I've got another one or not. Yes, I have. Looks like it's got a bit. So a nice feathery brush. So you start off by adding some water from a spray bottle. Any one you have will do. Take a bit of the ink on your brush and dab it wherever you want. Wherever the water is, it will stop and stick. This looks a bit pinky in the thing, but it's coming out a bit orangey. But again, it'll add a bit of contrast detail. So, and then make sure that your powders are away. And spray again. At this stage you can dab. This is why I've put gloves on. This stage you can dab round to help to disperse the colour if you wish. It just makes sure that you've added it to every little bit that you want. You don't of course have to do that. You can of course add it thingy upright like that and it makes it run. So we'll do this lower half in exactly the same way. I keep catching my light. Now I think that one had quite a bit of blue on, so we'll add some of this other colour. Which you can't see, sorry, I'm out of view there. And again spray. And again you can dab some of the colour. These Lindy's have quite a few different colours even in the one, especially depending on which one you use. And of course, even if I have done this on one before and it will look completely different depending on how the colours blend, mix, the colours that you've used and everything like that. So I'm going to do this other section. This time I'll put some blue. Now this one of course is a lot more solid, this side. So you might get a little bit of a different look. As long as you keep this brush dry, you'll not do anything to your pigment inks that are in the pot. Naturally enough, if you put a wet brush into those, it would start activating them in the pot, and you don't really want that. Now, can you see what I mean about you can, because it's a more solid area, you can make the paint start running. Or just, again, dab where you want it to be more. If there's any parts that have been missed, like there's not much on the cog there, and I wanted more on the cog. So now we'll do this bottom section. Had quite a bit on, but it doesn't really matter. And again, some spraying. Make sure you spray all of it, or else it'll just stop looking like a solid bit of the powder. Now then, with a paintbrush, if you can see some that hasn't gone, like underneath where you can't really get it, just take your paintbrush and add it. Like I say, they're very, very pigmented, this, so they even though they don't look like they'll be quite strong, they actually are. Right, there's not much gone in there, so I think I will add a bit of the blue and spray in there so that gets the colour as well. And just add some on that bit of the chipboard there that doesn't look to have much, and I think I'll add just a little bit more. This, like I say, is why I've put these gloves on, because these pigment inks stain your fingers quite badly. They do come off. They come off quite good, and especially if you use the isopropyl gel things that we all used when COVID was going, that does tend to get rid of it quite good, but they might still linger just a little while. So if you don't like your fingers being a mess, put some gloves on. Right, so there, as you can see, we now have, I'll just wipe up some of the excess off this. Piece of plastic underneath, as you can see. You could put that on a tissue, soak it up, and then use that as a background piece for something. There's ways and means, you know. Right, now then, for this I am going to try and see if the Lindy's will stick. If not, or if I find that I want to highlight it more, I have got some pearlescent acrylic paint that I'm just going to use after, or to make it stand out. But we'll just see how we go on at first. So basically we're just adding a bit more water just over the flowers. You could at this stage use an entirely different colour, and then that way they would really stand out, but I want it to make it look quite muted, like it is part of the body of the butterfly, as against being an extra. When you're doing this, you have to be careful, because you can, with the Lindy's or any sort of paint like this, if you mix the colours when they're wet, they can, depending on what colour you've used, start to look like mud. And you don't really want that either. So just be careful how you do it. And again, we'll have a little bit of water. Not much this time, just to activate as much as we can. Now I can see there, can you see there, I've not got much colour. So I'm going to, with my paintbrush, just take a bit and dab some through. Just so it's not quite as looking like it's missed anything. Right, I haven't got my dryer out, which I should have done. I should have thought and got my dryer out, but bear with me while I just do that. My heat gun, and I'm going to pop it on low to start off with and see how we go on. Again, these don't take very long to dry, especially the ones that you did at the beginning, but you will see when they're drying because they don't look as wet, they look drier. And naturally enough, we've done this half last, so this half will still be more wetter. Some of these metal flowers absolutely have quite a bit of water, so that's not a problem, but I'm just trying to get the base a little bit drier first, and then I'll show you how to get rid of that. I might put this on to hot now. You can with your dryer also, if there is any loose bits, with your dryer, angle it so it moves to different places as well. Like that. That's running, so now we've got it on the end. If you can see it running or not, maybe not. Let's see if I can get the angle of the light a bit better. Trying not to go through to the plastic underneath, because that also isn't liking the heat. Right, that is drying quite good, because my heat gun's quite on hot, is quite warm, so it is drying out the. I would imagine that these metal pieces are quite warm now, so maybe don't touch them so much at this stage. Right, now that one has got quite a bit in the middle, and it would eventually dry, but we'll help it along. So make your tissue like that and just pop it into the centre, and it should absorb the excess, as you can see. And that way you're not overly moving the colours. As well. As you can see, that's now quite dry. So I'll just give it another blast to make sure. Now at this stage I want to look at it and see what's happening, which is quite nice, but there's just some bits and pieces of places where I just want to highlight a bit of colour again, so I'm not too keen on this bit here. Right, sorry about that, but my battery decided to die on me, so I've had to come back to where I was, which I think I was going to put some more colour on here. So while I've been away, I've decided that I'm going to add a different one, which hopefully is this one. If I had more of the same colour, it doesn't really matter. But I just thought I'd add a little bit of a change. We'll see what happens. Yeah, it is a little bit of a different colour. A little bit more of a goldy effect rather than an orange. And just to make it so it's a bit more balanced, I'll add it in a couple of places. Which, as you can see on there, it's not really done it very good, so it doesn't matter. Maybe I put a bit too much water on there, I think. We'll just have a bit on there. Depending on where it's going, of course, it can alter the colour as well. So, to be fair, it's getting a bit of a look of rust on there, which I don't really want, so I'm going to dab that off. I don't mind it up there, but it was on a very pale bit, if you remember. So, if you don't like something, just dab it off. And then that way, just gives a hint of colour without you losing too much. So I think what I'll do, I'll just try and add a little bit to this flower here. If it doesn't work out, then I can take it off again. It's all just having a play, really. Which is the fun of it. Right, I'll put my heat gun on and dry that off again. And as you can see, now that's dry. You see that? There's no excess water in there. Right, so I think I might just leave it at that, because like I said, the colours evidently are slightly altered when it's dried anyway, so it's not really worth doing any more of that. Right, so I'm going to get rid of this again because it's got wet ink on, and like I said, my battery died, so my hands don't look too bad. But however, you can see there's a little bit of ink. Of course, when you take gloves off, your hands are clean, which I prefer to do. But that again is entirely up to you. If you don't mind having a bit of ink on your hands, that's fine. Now then, I did say about highlighting it with some blue, but to be honest, I don't think on this particular one it'll do it any favours, so I'm not going to bother. However, I am going to add some wax. Now this thing of wax I have had in my stash for years, and I mean years. I have no idea whose make it is or where I got it from. But it is absolutely fabulous in the fact they've never dried up. They don't go off. And honest to goodness, if I could find some more, I'd be ordering them like mad. And if I remember rightly, they weren't that expensive. You probably, of course, won't have these. So just do or use whatever you have. So as you can see, I have literally just gone round the edges of the flower, like that. Just highlight certain bits. And I'm going to try and just go basically on some of these have gone lower down. You could bring them up, but I'm not going to bother. Just gives a bit of added sheen to the finished piece. Don't know if you can see that, but... And then, whichever finger it is, when I said I wasn't too bothered before about using it the other way, it's because I like to highlight this flower in the middle. Just to give, again, a little bit of a, especially when it's held that way, which you can't see with my camera. It really highlights. Let's see if I can, oh yes I can. I can bring these up, some of these up. Press them down a little bit. I'm going to put that one back because it's taking some of the ink away from down on the thing below, and I don't want to put any more on, so I'll just shove that one back down again. But the others are fine. And again, it adds character because they're mainly flat, but they're part raised up. So what I might do is try and lift some of these. Not all of them. And then again, you've got some raised there, some raised there, and that again gives a bit of a difference in the layers. Can you see that? Sorry, it's not very easy to see, but I'm hoping you can see better. At least what I'm getting at, or at least with what I've said. Now, to bring it all in, I'm going to add just a little bit on here as well. Hear my phone, you'll have to excuse it. I've left it in the other room, so I can't really put it on silent. And if I stop my camera again, it's going to be stop, start, stop, start, because this video seems to have taken forever. And then because that other, which was more of a goldy colour, didn't really work out, I'm going to highlight with some of the wax to bring it in. So never think there's not a way of doing something, because there is. It all adds little bits of interest. And at the end of the day, you just add in interest to basically MDF and chipboard. But the results are really good, really nice. If you look at my social media, I have actually done one of these that I sent off to it for the TV. And I did my layout of here a bit different, and I actually put a couple of light bulbs on as well. That is another option you can do if you want to check up my social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. You can do that. I'll list the details below on the video, so you can see it done just a little bit different. But this is to just give you the general idea. And there we go. You can do it with, if you want to incorporate more of the cogs, you can do that from the butterfly set collection that came with the cogs, and put a couple here to bring out the cog selection. But I just thought, I just liked the fact that the butterfly, because I love butterflies, so I just wanted the butterfly with just a little bit of added dimension. And Samantha K products are absolutely fantastic for taking the media and doing just what you want to do. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Leave me some comments if you want, that would be much appreciated. Follow me if you want. You never know, I might make some more videos if you like what I've done. Anyway, bye for now.